Hello friends, there are rumors that carry weight, and this is one of them, but it must be treated with caution until we have confirmation from other sources. Opinion article. Negotiation in the White House. Is Biden looking for a deal with Trump? There is a burden of proof against him. Would seek protection for himself and his family? Would be the negotiation with Mitch McConnell? The concession would upset the Democratic Party. We should see great things in the next few days. White House replies to Attorney General William Barr. Sidney Powell publishes a mountain of evidence in Parler. Powell reports threats and beatings of several of his witnesses. A Spanish petition to the White House against our government. Outrage in Brussels over Hungarian criticisms of Mr. Jorge. The sun expelled the largest solar flare in years before its active cycle. Let's start. According to some reports, the elderly Democratic candidate is trying to negotiate his situation with the president in the face of a flood of lawsuits. This statement, attributed to a very reliable source, was broadcast by Lud Media Genius.org, the same group that first revealed the truth about his son's laptop and all the scandalous content it contained. It is mathematically impossible to reach the presidency with the burden of proof against him. Rumors go even further when they claim that the old man is preparing to concede the elections and would try to negotiate a pardon on the many charges against him and his relatives. Such an agreement would protect his family, but would especially serve as a sale of other swamp actors who do not want to be prosecuted. This statement that the Democratic candidate would seek concession agreement, which has not yet been confirmed by other sources, is covered in the Situation Update postcard, a link to which I post on my blog. Immunity. Genius reported the rumor that the Democratic candidate has approached Mitch McConnell about the terms of his surrender. He wants immunity for himself and his family, as well as the ability to keep the money he got from China. The old man's concession would upset the Democratic Party and take power away from the left. If the old man were to surrender, many conflicts would be saved, and the military option would become unnecessary. I have a strong feeling that the Democratic candidate will not make it to December 14th. There could be an important announcement before that date that would shock mankind. A shock so profound that it would force the eyes of the deepest sleepers to open, forcing them to take their breath away. Addison Mitchell McConnell is an American politician affiliated with the Republican Party. He currently represents the state of Kentucky in the Senate and is the leader of the Republican majority. He is the longest-serving senator to represent Kentucky. In the context of the political crisis of the closing of the government in 2013, McConnell's action was fundamental in achieving a solution to the political paralysis and enabling the reopening of federal services through the country. In 2017, he was one of the 22 senators to sign a letter calling on the president to take the United States out of the Paris Agreement. Mountain of evidence. Meanwhile, Sidney Powell's team publishes a huge amount of information on the electoral anomaly censored by networks on the social network Parler. the fact that evidence and more evidence continues to emerge. Evidence that is censored by social networks and big media manipulation, but evidence after all. Sidney Powell has been very aggressive in recent weeks, presenting her case of electoral fraud to the people. Last Wednesday, Powell filed an explosive 104-page complaint in the state of Georgia. Sidney Powell alleges witnesses has been threatened and beaten. Attorney Sidney Powell told Fox News anchor C. Hannity on Monday night that witnesses to the election fraud have been threatened and, in the case of one witness, beaten and he's in hospital. They are going to lose their jobs. Their lives has been threatened. A witness we know was beaten and is in the hospital. There have been all kinds of repercussions against people who have come forward to tell the truth, Powell said. Response to the Attorney General. The White House criticizes William Barr's claims that there is no voter fraud. With all due respect to the Attorney General, there has been no such things as the Justice Department investigation. We have gathered extensive evidence of illegal voting in at least 6 states, which they have not examined. We have many witnesses who swore under oath and that they saw crimes committed in connection with election fraud. To our knowledge, not a single one has been interviewed by the department, nor has the Department of Justice audited any voting machines or used its subpoenaing power to determine the truth. Nonetheless, we will continue our search for the truth through the judicial system and state legislatures, and we will continue the mandate of Constitution, ensuring that every legal vote is counted and every illegal vote is not. Again, with the greatest respect to the Attorney General, his opinion appears to be unaware and not investigating substantial irregularities and evidence of systemic fraud. Requests. General Flynn has joined the voices calling for limited martial law with the following sentence. We the people ask the President to invoke limited martial law to hold a new military control election. Tom Zawitkowski, President of We the People Convention, placed a full page ad in the Washington Times demanding that the President invoke limited martial law to allow the military to oversee a new free and fair federal election if lawmakers, courts and Congress do not follow the Constitution. For his part, on Tuesday morning, Georgia-based lawyer Lynn Wood asked the President on Twitter to order a new election after declaring martial law. In his opinion, our country is headed for a cyber war, a war created by evil third-party actors for their benefit, not for us, the people. Communist China is leading the nefarious efforts to take away our freedom. On the other hand, retired Lieutenant General McConnell is also calling on the President to declare a national emergency for foreign electoral interference and to use the Insurrection Act to destroy violent extremist groups of all acquaintances. Retired 3-star General McConnell asked for the President to invoke the insurrection law, suspend habeas corpus, declare martial law, and initiate mass arrests under military authority. Meanwhile, the President announced the elimination of the clause to protect large internet companies for serious damage to national security. The President threatens to veto the defense bill unless the protection for social network is removed. The law leaves providers of an interactive computer service to be treated as publishers, a position that critics say is increasingly at odds with the way the technology giants operate in reality. Rumors. This week and next, we should see great things moving forward, according to Don Carlos de Marbella, who adds that on Wednesday, 25th November, General Flynn started to execute high-level arrest abroad and was currently in the Netherlands chasing pedophiles there. In addition, Henry Kissinger and other actors have recently been expelled from the Council of Foreign Relations, the seat of the New World Order. Rumors are growing in that the agency director Gina Haspel was killed in the shooting in Frankfurt. There is also another report that Haspel was in Germany during the raid and that she was arrested, but on her way to Cuba, she decided to turn back and it's singing like a bird. I hope that someone will be able to confirm or deny this story soon. According to the above information, on Saturday, 7th November, Gina Haspel was captured and arrested for electoral cheating after being injured by the Special Operation Forces. These forces raided a server farm site in Frankfurt, Germany, and captured servers who had changed votes in the elections of 2020. Simultaneous raids were carried out in Toronto and Barcelona. A Spanish petition to the White House. In the list of popular petitions to the White House, a Spanish petition has been published asking the U.S. federal government to ask Congress to act on the removal of the government installed in Spain. The petition needs to get 100,000 signatures by December 26 to get a response from the White House. The text reads as follows in English. We, the sovereign people of Spain, being illegally governed by a government established surreptitiously through the electoral fraud of Don Jorge and his globalist allies, which has been undermining and continues to undermine our constitutional, human and fundamental freedoms and rights through unjustified oppressive policies, respectfully petition the legitimate government of the United States of America, which is that of the legitimate President-elect Donald J. Trump, as signatories to NATO. A website denounces the link with Don Jorge, the Fox, with several judges of the European Court of Human Rights and 226 MEPs, according to El Diestro. Watch out for the list of the Spaniards, which is very funny. Among them are people like Pablo Iglesias, Elena Valenciano or Javier Nart, to give just a few examples. Outrage in Brussels over Hungarian criticisms of Mr. Jorge. El Solo. Stiller Demeter, Ministerial Commissioner and Director of the Pedophile Literary Museum in Budapest, published an opinion piece on Sunday on the popular news site Origo, based on the headline "Europe is Mr. Jorge Gas Chamber." Demeter wrote, "It attacks attempts by Soros and European Union technocrats to destroy national culture in the name of open border, open society, multiculturalism, a constant criticism of European patriotic movement. He stated that he is the liberal Führer." Excuse me. Poison gas flows from the capsule of an open multicultural society, which is deadly to the European way of life, he further wrote. Don Jorge El Solo is the liberal Führer, and his libertarian army adores him even more obsequiously than they did Hitler in his day. They have learned nothing from the 20th century. The meter said according to an English translation. All these sentences are from the article, they are not my opinion. Solar flare. The sun expels the largest solar flare in years before its active cycle. On Sunday, Space Weather said the solar flare was measured as a category M 4.4 flare, which produced a short-wave radio blackout in parts of the Earth and bright coronal mass ejection. Surprisingly, the flare was even larger than it appeared. The site of the explosion is just behind the southeastern tip of the sun, so the explosion was partially overshadowed by the body of the sun. The X-rays and ultraviolet radiation from the flare ionized the upper part of the Earth's atmosphere, producing a shortwave radio blackout over the South Atlantic. Amateur radio operators and sailors may have noticed strange propagation effects at frequencies below 20 MHz, with sound transmission below 10 MHz completely extinguished, said Space Weather on its website. Space Weather said that the flare and an associated coronal mass ejection were not oriented toward the Earth, but exploded behind the sun, the southeastern tip of the sun. This is good news, because the explosion was partially eclipsed by the body of the sun. If the flare had been oriented towards the Earth, it would probably have been a Class X event, which means that it would have resulted in widespread radio blackouts, downed power grids, and disrupted communication networks. And that's all for today. Thank you for your patience.